Hello students. Today we're going to be talking about the graphing calculator. So we're going to have an introduction to that. Okay, so I would like to go through what the graphing calculator looks like. Okay, now I'm kind of doing the recording a little differently, so the audio is going to sound different and everything. So just kind of bear with me on that. So here is the calculator that we're going to be using. You'll notice that it's a pretty fancy calculator. It can do some graphing, it can do some tables, it can do a whole lot of stuff. Now, right now, you don't really know how to do all of that stuff, and that's okay. Okay, throughout the year, we're going to be learning how to do it. So I just want to kind of go through a couple things real quick. Okay, first off, yeah, it is fancy, but don't let it scare you. So let me go through some stages of this calculator. So if we were to look at just this little portion down here, let me see if I can box it in for you. If I were to look at just that little section right there, that section right there is just a regular, plain old, ordinary calculator. The only thing that's really different is the fact that we don't have an equals key. We have an enter key instead. Okay, so we have to kind of understand that. The enter key is our equals key. This particular calculator is just like a little baby computer. It can do almost anything that just some of the original first computers could do, plus. Okay, this one is actually more powerful than the computers that they had on the very first rocket going to the moon, those Apollo rockets. Okay, this computer inside this calculator is actually more powerful than those. Okay, so that section is just the calculator. Okay, now if I were to go up to this section right here, this section is what makes this a scientific calculator. Okay, so this row right here is scientific, this down here is calculator. So that makes it a scientific calculator. If we were to look up to the next row, this row, there's a very important button right here in the middle. It's called PRGM. This is called program. That's what that stands for. So this is a programmable scientific calculator. Okay. Now, if we were to go up one more row, you've got another button that's very important called STAT. Okay, that doesn't mean fast like in hospital terms, but that means statistics. Okay, so this is a statistical, programmable, scientific calculator. Okay. Now, this top row is what makes this calculator special. Okay, this one's got several special buttons, but this one's the main one called graph, because this calculator is a graphing calculator. So it allows us to look at some of the algebra graphically and be able to manipulate some of those equations and learn what each of the parameters of those equations will do. Okay, so this is a graphing, statistical, programmable, scientific calculator. So as you can tell, this is a pretty fancy calculator. It does quite a bit. Okay, but we have to remember one thing. The calculator is only as smart as its user. Okay, so my calculator, since I actually know how to do most of this stuff, my calculator is pretty smart. Okay, your calculator, well, it's a work in progress. Okay, so right now, what I'm going to need you to be able to do today is be able to understand how to do this bottom section of the calculator. Some of the rest of this stuff we'll learn throughout the year, but that's where we're going to start. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is just learn how to type in regular plain old integer problems. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my screen over here, and I'm going to bring up my calculator, okay, that I have here on the computer. Now, this is what yours will look like eventually. Okay, I'm working with technology right now to get this calculator pushed out to your Chromebooks, because you do have the capability of having this calculator on your Chromebook. And I know the current 8th graders up, they have it on there, but they haven't pushed it out to your Chromebooks yet. Okay, so today's lesson for the B and C students, I just need you to watch and follow along. You can do most of the stuff that we're going to do today just on a regular calculator, but a few of the things will be a little bit more difficult. Okay, but hopefully that will get pushed out here pretty soon. I sent in a work order last week for that to be done. So we'll see. Okay, so let's take a look at some integer questions. So here's our first integer problem. The first thing that we need to understand about this calculator is it does have an integer, or it has a negative key on it. Okay, and if you will look down here to the bottom of the calculator, that is our negative key. And we're going to type this problem in exactly the way we say it. So we would say this one is negative 15 plus 22. And that's exactly how we're going to type this in. Okay, so we'll come over here and we'll type in negative 15, okay, plus 22. And then, like I said, it doesn't have an equals key, so we're going to have to hit the enter key, and it will give us our answer. So you'll notice our answer is just plain old 7. Okay. Now, if I wanted to do any other integer problem, we would do the same exact thing. So let's say I wanted to do -3 plus -4 minus 12 minus 7. Okay, now I'm having to write that with my mouse, so it kind of looks pretty bad, but you can understand what it says. So then I come over to the calculator and I type exactly that same thing in. -3 plus -4 minus 12 minus 7. And you'll notice that problem right there. You just type it in exactly as it's written, and then you hit the enter key. And you end up with -26 as your answer. Now you need to make sure that just because the calculator gave you an answer, that it's the correct answer. Okay, so you need to make sure that you type in the question exactly as it is written. Okay, so that's integers. So what you're going to do on an assignment today is you're going to, using your calculator, evaluate each of these questions. Okay, and we'll get to that a little bit later on. But now one of the other things that's really kind of cool about this calculator is the fact that you can also do fractions and mixed numbers on it. Okay, so you're also going to have a section that looks like this on this assignment. So let's see if we can actually do one. Okay, so let me write a problem out. 2 3/4 plus 5 2/5. Okay, now this calculator, believe it or not, has the capability of typing in this exact problem and coming up with an answer in the format that we want. Okay, so let's see if we can do that. Let me clear off this calculator. We'll clear off the screen, so that's all we have there. Now, your fraction capabilities on this calculator is found in the math button, okay, this math menu. So when I press this math button, you'll notice up here in all this stuff, because there's a lot of math stuff that pops up. But one of them is frac, which stands for fraction. So if I hit the back arrow button, it will back it up around that menu. Now you could hit the forward arrow and go all the way across, but if you hit the back arrow, it just takes you right straight to that fraction. Now the things that we have capable of here, number 1 here says numerator divided by denominator. So that's just a regular plain old fraction. But you'll notice on number 2, it says unit, numerator divided by denominator. That's what we have right here. This is called a unit. This whole number is called the unit. Okay, so if we were to press the number 2 button, I'm going to get a fraction form pop up on my calculator screen. And all I have to do is type in my numbers accordingly. So I'm going to type in 2, okay, and then I'm going to hit the right arrow key, and it will take me to the numerator. Then we'll take the 3, and then right arrow, and then the 4, and then right arrow, and now it's ready for my sign in the middle, plus. And then I'm going to go do that again. Math, back arrow, 2, and I get another fraction form. 5, right arrow, 2, right arrow, 5, right arrow. Now, if I hit enter it right here, what it's going to do is it's going to give me an answer as an improper fraction. 163/20. Well, we know that we've got to change the form of this improper fraction into a mixed number. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to hit math, back arrow. And if you'll notice this number 4, it says it wants to turn a numerator divided by denominator, just a regular fraction, into a mixed number. So I'm going to press the number 4 button and then hit enter. And you'll notice it now gives me a simplified mixed number for the answer to this problem. So you'd end up with 8 3/20. Okay, simple as that. Okay, so let me try another one. Okay, so let me refresh the screen here and let's try a different problem. This time I'm going to do -4 2/3 divided by -1 1/8. Okay, so that's what I want to do on this problem. Okay, so here we go. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to type in -4. So I'm going to type in negative, and then I'm going to go get the fraction form. Math, back arrow, the number 2. Then I'm going to type in 4, right arrow, 2, right arrow, 3, right arrow. divided by, and notice how the division symbol is a fraction bar. And I'm going to do it again, negative. Go get my fraction form. Then I need the number 2. Okay. Then 1, right arrow, 1, right arrow, 8, right arrow. And now what I can also do, instead of just hitting the enter here and getting an improper fraction, I can go ahead and get this converted for me form. So I can go math, right arrow, 4, and I can put all that on one line and then hit the enter key. And notice it now gives me 4 and 4/27 as my simplified mixed number. And it is positive because you'll notice that both of these mixed numbers are negative. So that does provide me with a positive answer. Okay. So that's what I want us to practice on today. Okay. So let me go through that fraction form one more time on how we get to it. So I'm going to hit clear and I'm going to type in this problem right here. Now, you don't necessarily have to type the negative in first. You can actually type it in when you hit the first number. So you do math, left arrow to get back to the fraction menu, the number 2. Okay, so now inside that first unit number, I can now hit the -4 and it works the same. Okay, and then right arrow 2, right arrow 3. Okay, and then we're ready to work. That's how you actually get into the fraction forms. All right, and so that's what I want us to practice on today. So you're going to have a little assignment that deals with integers, where you're just practicing typing numbers into the calculator and coming up with an answer. And then some fractions, where I want you to practice some fraction forms. Okay. And then the last thing that we're going to do is we're always going to clear our calculator, because what that does is that sets my calculator up for my next group. Okay. And the keystrokes that we're going to press to do a calculator reset is going to be second plus 712. So you would hit the second button, then you would hit the plus button, then you're going to hit the 7 because we want to do a reset. So 7. And then we're going to clear all RAM, so 1. And then do we really want to do this? Yes, 2. And then what it's going to say is RAM cleared at the end of it. Okay. Now, right now, the A students are the only ones that have this calculator. B and C, you will eventually get this calculator on your Chromebook and you'll be able to access it. I'm going to put a small little video at the on here as well to show you what it's going to look like, because I did use my son's computer to be able to do that, because he's at the high school and he already has that calculator on his computer. So I'm going to show you what that looks like, even though you're not able to get to it just yet. I'm hoping that it will be there by the end of this week for sure. Okay. But you can use any other calculator to be able to do this. There are several calculators online that are great. Okay, so you could download a graphing calculator or something like that on your phone or your tablet, and that will work fine. For the majority of the stuff that we have here on the stuff that we're doing today, other than the fractions, you can just use the regular calculator on your Chromebook, and that would work also. Okay, so B and C students, I'm going to want you to practice on the first part, and then we'll come back and get to the second part. Okay, so you're going to end up doing this part on your assignment. But then my A students will also do the fractions, and we'll come back and help y'all out whenever the calculator gets there on your Chromebook for the B and C students. Okay, so that's all we got for today. So the rest of the time, we're just going to be practicing typing in these questions. Okay, so tomorrow we're going to talk about comparing and ordering real numbers, okay, and rational numbers and all those different kinds of numbers, and we'll still be allowed to use the calculator. Okay, so from now on, everything's going to be calculator based, and you will be allowed to use the calculator on everything. The reason why we need to become familiar with this one is because this is the calculator that you'll be allowed to use on the STAR test. So we have to understand how to use this calculator. You'll also use this calculator a lot in Algebra 1 next year. Okay, so until tomorrow, I'll talk to you later.